Welcome to today's video. In today's video we are going to be working with this table. In this table we are going to use some of the most common Microsoft Excel logical mathematical functions, also known as conditional functions. In this case we are going to use the if function, sum if, and count if functions to answer some of the questions that we have here. We are going to work with two tables. In this case, this table doesn't have a format as a table, and in the other one has the format of a table. Why? Well, because when we are applying the functions, it could be a little bit different. So we are going to give you some tips about this. The first function will be the if function. We are going to use the if function to answer this question that we have right here. But first, let's see what is the if function about. The Excel if function tests a supply condition and returns one result if the condition evaluates to true, and another result if the condition evaluates to false. So this is a conditional function. You are going to give it a logical test, and if this logical test is true, it's going to give you one result, and if it's false, it's going to give you another result. So you only have two answers for this. So first, logical test, what is it? The condition that is to be tested and evaluated as either true or false. So the first argument that you are going to introduce to your function is the logical test, is the question. Then, separated by a comma, you are going to introduce to your function what is that you want to do if that logical test is actually true. So that's what is called value if it's true. Then we have the third argument that you are going to introduce to your function, also separated by a comma, and it will be value if it's false. So whatever you want your function to do if that logical test is false. So these are the arguments. First, you're going to introduce your logical test, your question, your condition. Then you are going to introduce whatever you want your function to do if that logical test is true, and then whatever you want your function to do if that condition logical test returns false. So that's the syntaxis. Now we are going to apply it to the table that we already have. Let's go to our spreadsheet. So here we have a table that has like forecasts of sales from some salesmen in different regions in the world, and they sell different things. So that's not what it's important here. The important thing here is to answer the question, analyzing the information that we have. And we are going to use the if function to answer this question. Our question is forecast over $150,000, $150,000. So here we have our forecast, and the question that we want to answer if this forecast for each one of these salesmen it's over $150,000. So if it's more, and if it's more, we are going to answer yes, and if it's not, we are going to answer no. It's a simple yes no question. If this was a table with hundreds of registers, to do this manually, it will be a really difficult task, a really time-consuming task. That's why we are going to use a function to answer this question, following the syntaxes that we already saw. So first, equal symbol, then the function if. I open my parentheses, and here we have the syntaxes. This is the way that Microsoft Excel helps you, telling you what you have to put inside your function. So what are we going to evaluate? We are going to evaluate the forecast, which is, in this case, is cell D4. If cell D4 it's over 150K, $150,000. The question says is over, not over or equal. What are you going to do? If it's greater than 150K, then we are going to answer yes. If it's not, then we are going to answer no. Text and text strings always have to go this way. We have to put the double commas. Then we close our parentheses. Enter. No. Why not? Because 150K is equal to 150K. So that's one way we can do it. Like that. The other way will be using this tool we have right here, the insert function. So right here in this icon we have all the functions that Excel has for us. So I can click there, immediately the equal symbol gets there, and here we can look for the function that we are using. The if function is right here because I've already used it, but if I can find it, I can type it there and then go, and it's going to find it immediately. So I can double click here, or I can click OK. This window will appear. Here is for you, so you can select the cells to work with. So here I'm going to click here because it's cell D4. Then what do you want your function to return if the value, or if the question, or if the logical test it's true? Then you're going to answer, here, yes. If it's not, then going to answer no. That's the other way we can do it. So it's the same thing, but we're doing it here, and it already gives you the answer. It says, in this case it says yes, in this case is no. But why? Because I didn't do this. Greater than 150K. It tells you it's false, it's not true, so it's gonna give you a no. Okay, and it's a no. So now what I can do is type the exact same function here. The other thing I can do is copy it. So I'm gonna copy my function. I'm going to copy it down, and as I'm doing it, here the cell is D4, but Excel understands that whenever you copy down a formula or a function, it means to advance. So it's going to be D4, then it's going to be D5, then it's going to be D6, etc. So it understands that you want the result for the next cell and the next cell and the next cell. It doesn't stack with the D4. So I'm gonna copy it down. Here you have a little green square. So you put your cursor, your pointer there, you hold your mouse and you pull it down without letting it go, and then you have it. So we answer the question. Is it over 150K? No. Is it over 150K? No. Is it over 150K? Yes. So we solve the first one. And this is the if function. Now, the next one. Sum by month. So we are going to see another function, and this is a sum, actually an addition. This is a variant from the outer sum. In this one, you are going to apply the sum if function. Sum if, so actually is a conditional addition. You are going to sum the numbers if and only if a criteria is met. So let's see. Here we already have the months. So you are going to add up all the forecast of January, all the forecast of February, all the forecast of March. As you can see here, we have the months of the year. We have January here, January here, January here, January here. 4 times we have January. So we are not going to add one by one. We are going to create a function to add all the forecasts for this month at once. How are we going to do it? As I said before, we're going to do it with the SUMIF function. So let's see what the SUMIF function is about. What does it do? The Excel SUMIF function finds the values in a supplied array that satisfy a given criteria and returns the sum of the corresponding values in a second supplied array. So we have the word array. So what would be an array? So it's a group of numbers that will be an array. Like for example, in the table that we have, all of these are arrays. This is an array of numbers. This is an array of percentages. This is an array of months. So are groups of numbers or groups of information, like on a list. So what it's going to do, it's going to find the values in the array that you give them, and the selection of numbers that you give them that satisfy that criteria that you gave them, and then it's going to add them up. That is what it's going to do. So it's going to be, for example, as I was telling you, January appears 4 times. So I'm going to tell the actual function, you are going to sum only the numbers that go with January. And the function is going to enter and evaluate which months are January, and then it's going to sum or add up the numbers that are related to January, but only those. All of the other months it's going to leave out. So what is the syntaxis of the function? It's going to be sum if, and first we're going to enter the range. So that will be the array that you're going to give it to evaluate. And then you are going to put the criteria. So that will be like the condition. And then you are going to select the numbers that you want to add, that you want to sum. So the range in this case is an array of values or range of cells containing values to be tested against the supply criteria. So if I'm going to add up only the months that meet the criteria, my range it's going to be the months, because that's what I'm going to evaluate. So I'm gonna go to my table. here. I have January, February, March, all the months repeat. The only month that is not here is September. So we don't have September here. So this is my array because here I want to know how many times it repeats itself so we can sum or add up the numbers that go with that month. So here is my range or my array that I'm going to test against my condition. The second is a criteria. What is a criteria? It's a condition to be tested against each of the values in the supply range. The condition to be tested against each of the values in the supply range. So this is the condition. For example, January. So I'm telling you, from this list of months, find whatever is January. That's what I'm telling it. Sum range, that will be the numbers that I want to add up. An optional array of numeric values. This is optional because not all the time we want to add numbers or our numbers, because the range could be the actual sum range, which are to be added together if the corresponding range entries satisfy the supply criteria. If the sum range argument is omitted, the values from the range argument can be summed instead. So this is optional because sometimes whatever we want to add up is also the range. So range could be here, then the criteria, then the sum range, but this can be omitted if whatever we want to sum is also the range. So let's see. Let's move to our table. Here I already have the months of the year. This is what I'm going to use to make the function, to make the calculation. Here I have the range. This is my criteria, and this is my sum range. Okay? SUMIF is my function. I'm going to open here. I'm gonna go here. This is my range. That's my range. I'm gonna separate it by a comma. And then my criteria, which is my condition, is A7, which is the same thing as if I wrote January. It's the same thing. Then whatever I want to add up or sum. These are the numbers. I'm going to select them. So it is complete. And it did it. And if I go and add up everything from January, 150,000, 175,000, 163,000, and 173,200 dollars, it will be this quantity. This I can also do it as I did it in the other one. I can do this, go to the insert function icon, and here I need SUMIF, and here it is. There it is. Okay. What is your range? If it's more difficult to you as I did it first, you can do it like this with the wizard. Range. So the range is what I want to test against my criteria. January to April here. Then my criteria. And I'm going to select this one. I can also write January here, as it says here. And then my sum range, what I want to add up, which are the numeric quantities, the money. And here we have the answer. I click OK. And there you go. It's the same thing, but I did it with the wizard. So now here we didn't have any problem copying down the formula or the function because it's in the same place. But here we have it someplace else. We have it down here. So what will happen if I copy down my my formula, my function? Let's see. So I copy and I have it there. What will happen if I fact check this? If I get my calculator and actually add all the numbers, the answers will be not correct. Why? Because as it happened here, all the cells keep adding up, keep advancing, like the 11, the 12, the 13, the 14. So everything moves forward. So that's what happens here too. If I select this, my selections are correct. Everything is right. But let's see what happens here. My selections moved. Why? Because my cells move forward. Everything moved forward. What can I do? I can actually move my selection. I can do that. I can do it like this and like this, and everything will be okay. But that's not the professional thing to do. We are going to use a symbol to immobilize, to freeze my columns and my rows. In this case, what I need to freeze is my rows. The number, the symbol to freeze columns and rows is the currency symbol. The currency symbol. So I want to immobilize everything. Everything but this. That I need to stay like that, because it has to move forward. It has to change from January, February, March, April, May. So this is what I'm going to freeze with the currency symbol. I'm going to freeze the row. There you go. Nothing happened because that is an actual symbol that you can use in Excel. So now I'm going to copy it down, my function. And there you go. Everything is okay. Nothing moved because I froze this with the currency symbol. So that is sum by month. Now we are going to count how many times each month appears, and we are going to do that with the function COUNTIF. How do we use that function? Let's see. COUNTIF. The Excel COUNTIF function returns the number of cells within a supply range that satisfy a given criteria. So it's going to count the cells that satisfy evaluates whatever condition you give it true. So you give a condition, the function tested, and then it returns how many times this criteria is met, how many times the condition that you give it shows up as true. What is the syntaxes? COUNTIF, range, and criteria. Here we only have two arguments. Range, the range of cells that should be tested against the supply criteria and counted if the criteria is satisfied. So you're going to select the range of cells that you want to count. All of it. You're going to select it. And then you're going to give it the criteria. A user-defined condition that is tested against each of the cells in the supply range. So this is the condition. This is the condition. This is what you want to count. And this is the condition that you are going to give it. Following the example of January in our table. Let's see it. These are the months. This is what I want to count. And I want to count how many times each of the months appear. I know that January appears 4 times. January, 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 and January. 4 times. So my condition says, my function says, select whatever you want to count and then give it a condition. So this is what I want to count, and my condition, my criteria is January. So what my function is going to do is enter my selection and check and count if it's January. It's going to go inside and go January, yes, there's 1. January, no, January, no, January, no, January, no, January, yes, that's 2. January, no, January, no, January, no, January, no, January, no, January, yes, that's 3. And continue until finds the other January, and until the range that you gave it, it's over. So then it gets to April and there's no more January. So it only finds 4. That's what it's going to do. That's what the COUNTIF function is about. Now let's see. The COUNTIF function works the same way as the SUMIF. However, it just counts the fields that match a certain criteria instead of summing them. So it works just like the SUMIF, but instead of adding them up, it's going to count them. Okay? So the supply criteria, as in SUMIF, what can it be? A numeric value. My criteria can be a numeric value. Could be an integer, a decimal, a date, a time of the day, or a logical value. So it can be a 10, January 1st, or it can be true. It can be a text string, so it can be text or words. It can be text, it could be Monday. Or it can be an expression, a logical expression like greater than 12, different from 0. It can be whatever. One thing that is very important that I didn't tell you before is that Excel it's not case sensitive. So if you have capital letters and you have lowercase letters, it doesn't matter. It's going to understand the word either if it's in capitals or if it's in lowercase. And as I told you before, if you're using a text string like a word or something, it has to be on quotes. If you don't put it in quotes, it's going to give you an error message. So let's see the COUNTIF function. So first the range and then the criteria. So first whatever I want to count and then the condition that I'm gonna give it. So let's see. Count if equals count if parenthesis. What do you want to count? You want to count how many months, how many times each month appears. So I'm going to select the months. There you go. That's my selection. Comma. What's your criteria? Here I have the months. I can write January, or I can select the word January in here. And I close it. And it's 4. Why didn't I wrote January? Because I want to copy this down. And if I write January, it's not a cell, so it's not going to move forward. And it always going to test January. It's not going to move to February or March or April or May. So that's why I put the months right here, so I can copy down my functions. So there you go, enter, and we have it there. I can do it like that, or I can go to the insert function icon. Like here, count if, go, we have count if, and here, range. What do you want to count? So I want to count the months. I go for the months. Criteria. Against what you want to count it? The months that I have in this list. So there you go, 4. Okay, and I have 4. It's the same thing as what I did right here. If I copy this down, it's not going to be accurate. Why? Because if I select this, I can see that this moved. This is okay, but this is not, because it's not counting whatever it is right here. So I can move it, and it's going to be okay, or I can immobilize this. I'm gonna freeze the rows, which is this one. Only this one. I won't do this one. Only this. So currency and currency. And there you go. And everything is okay. Everything is right. And that will be it. So here we have if function, sum if, and count if. But I told you that I was going to show you something different. In this table, we do not have a table format, an automatic format like this. We don't have this. So that's why we were able to select each cell. But what happens when we have an actual table format? This is what happens. I'm going to do the same thing as I did in the other one, but I'm going to show you what happens. It's the same thing. If, remember, is forecast over 150K. If my logical test, it will be this one. And look what happens. It says forecast. Because this is formatted as a table. And here we have the header of my table, of this column, the name of the column. So it would only take whatever is on the format of the table. As you can see here, right here, this has a format. So Excel understands that only the information that is right here is the one that is going to take into account to actually perform the function. So here we are not going to see cells, individual cells. So if forecast is over 150K, what are you going to return? You're going to return yes, or you're going to return no, in quotes, remember. And it does it automatically. Why? Because this has a format. It has a table format. It does it automatically. You don't have an individual cell here. It takes only this to actually perform the function. Let's see what happens with the others. Sum if equals sum if range, criteria, and sum range. So we want to sum for each month. I'm going to select it and look at this. Table, forecast close. From table 1. This is table 1, the one that has the table format. Comma. Here is what I'm doing. And I'm going to choose this one. If it's January, that's my criteria. And then whatever I want to add up, which is the forecast. I'm going to select it. And look what happens. Again, table 1 forecast. This is the name of the column from table 1. And that is what you are going to add up. And I close it, enter. Here it didn't automatically because it didn't do it because it's not inside the table. But what happens when I copy it down? Here I have September. September is a 0 because there's no September here. But look, it didn't move. It didn't move because my table has the automatic format. So this actually helps. So now let's do count by month. Count if, open parenthesis, the range, what you want to count. You select it, and it did the same thing. From table 1, take forecast close. This column. That's what it's saying. Comma, and then the criteria, which is January. And you close it, enter. 4 times. And you copy it down. This keeps being 0 because there's no September. But everything was perfect. As you can see, this didn't move. I didn't need to use the currency number, the currency symbol to actually freeze the column, because like this, it's already done. So well, I hope this video helps you, and I hope it gives you an idea of how to work with functions. It's not that difficult. Of course, you have to pay attention to what you're doing and the order of the arguments that you're using in your functions, but it's not that difficult once you have practice. So